to the Talk with Maria show. Today we're discussing the challenges of aging and the resources available to support families and caregivers. Joining me is Miss Melanie Stephen, a geriatric care coordinator from Allegiant Home Care with an expertise in aging and caregiving. What a topic. Welcome, Melanie.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today.
You're
I'm very excited
welcome.
to be here. And
Yes.
this is something that really needs to be discussed.
You've been a geriatric care coordinator for some time.
Yes.
You have your own situation, as we say,
Yes.
that you have worked with. You're still smiling. Tell us a little bit about you. Let's start with that.
Sure. So I actually kind of fell into this industry completely on accident. Prior to this, worked in gyms, and then I worked in fertility. So I always say I went from from one end of the spectrum to the other. So I was dealing with embryos, now I'm dealing with the elderly, which all have their own different needs.
Amazing.
So when it comes to home care, I feel like there's a lot of emphasis that's placed on skilled care. So whether it be PT, OT, speech, and wound care, that's where most physicians and hospitals kind of push towards, where the whole ADL space is something that really is so important and can keep so many diagnoses at bay, right? So when it comes to that bathing, grooming, dressing, toileting, meal preparation, light housekeeping, personal laundry, all of these tasks that we can take for granted, sometimes doing on a daily basis, someone may need some assistance.
You know, it's ironic. People live, we look good.
Yeah.
I mean, look at you, you're beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you.
And then all of a sudden,
yeah.
you start, pruning.
Yes, yeah.
And some people just can't live with it. I've cared for people that have said, listen, Maria, I don't want to see this age. She's just too beautiful. She reminds me of me when I was a teenager and I just can't stand aging. How do you speak to your clients?
So
what do you advise them?
want to age.
Yes.
I pray every day just to continue aging.
Right.
I was diagnosed with MS in 2018, which is something that really made me take a look at everything that I can do for myself and not to take for granted. Absolutely. And I desperately want to maintain my independence as much as possible. And when I speak with families, I try to reframe their mindset that by having these services come into your home, it's not making you less independent, it's promoting your independence.
Absolutely.
And that's really how I just look at it when I'm speaking to families. You just have to keep that perspective in mind that nobody wakes up and says, I want home care. But don't be in denial, because by not having these services, you can wind up injuring yourself or having a mild condition become catastrophic.
Yes. Tell us when you were diagnosed. What was that? How did that whole situation come about?
So I worked for an assisted living at the time. I thought I was stressed out, like every single person on Long Island. I was a single mother.
Yes.
And, I was having headaches. I wasn't really feeling myself. I was exhausted. But again, that's typical. My coworker, I would run into her office. I am like a very big ball of energy, and I've always been this way. I would run into her office, but it kept tipping over. And I was like, I don't know if that's normal. So I went for an MRI. They thought at the time that I had like a stroke because I had lesions. I immediately quit my job, and it turned out that it was MS.
Wow. And how long ago was this?
That was in 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was a mere pup.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And you survived, and you're still a bubble of energy, and you can still talk about it.
I put it into the back of my mind, I guess, like pun intended, because that is actually where most of my lesions are.
Wow. But, my goodness. Tell us about your doctor that's treating you, because I'm sure there's someone out there that's tipping over, that may not be feeling comfortable with themselves, may be having extra headaches, may want to just go to your doctor and take a look. Tell us about your doctor.
And that's why I always say you have to be your own advocate. Yeah, my doctor is phenomenal. He, from the very beginning, was like, this is how you look on a scan. And, we don't know what the future holds, but don't focus on that. And I didn't. And I didn't have to do medication for a very long time until I did. And so I do my infusions every 6 months, and it kind of keeps everything at bay. And
what's the name of your doctor?
Oh, his name is Dr. Zarif. He's with South Shore Neurologic.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll bring
I
him
just
on our
did an
show one
ad
day.
for him.
And
Yeah.
right, yes, Dr. Tariq Flay, more power to you.
Yes.
And you started seeing him from the onset.
Yeah, I mean, it really, I exercise every single day.
Another exerciser.
A huge proponent for movement,
Yes.
hydration. I try to be as good as I can with my diet, but I'm also, human.
Right. Well,
so it's like an 80-20
Yes.
is how I try to like live my life.
Okay, wonderful.
And just to be positive.
You have to be able to share your positivity,
Yes.
live life. I always say, see the glass half filled rather than half empty.
Oh, just get a smaller glass.
Oh, just get a smaller glass. That's it.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, it's full then.
You do not have to be sulking and sad, and just pop yourself up. Be like a rose. Even though things are happening, know that it's your journey. And somewhere along the line, it's going to change. Have sufficient faith.
Yes,
So
and tap into those resources that are available.
Tap into the resources. Call a friend. Do something.
Call me.
Come on and talk with Maria's show. Call Melanie. When you go into a person that's a senior home, what do they expect to hear from you?
I try, like I said, just to steer the conversation, because I think people just become depressed.
Right.
And, see this as like the beginning of the end kind of scenario,
Okay.
And like I said, I tell people there's no one size fits all solution for anything, anyone, anywhere, right? Let's look at your scenario. Don't listen to Joe down the street who is diagnosed with the same thing. And
let's keep your focus.
Yeah, and then, I look at the whole situation. I look at the family dynamics.
How do you deal with family? Because sometimes one set of family wants one thing and another set of family wants something else. How do we deal with families?
Yeah, so I tell them I'll talk to as many people as I have to talk to.
Right.
I'll do a Zoom call. I'll go in person. A lot of the things I do are remote because I have a large territory. I cover all of Long Island.
Right.
But yeah, so, I break it down and try to make it little bits, right? And I'll give them some information. I'll refer them to some resources, and I'll be like, you know what, that's enough for right now. Let's just tackle this, and then we'll move on.
Tell me a little bit about your resources.
Yeah, so I work with many professionals, elder law attorneys, Medicaid processing companies. I'll contact the VA directly, geriatric care managers, social workers, hospitals, rehabs. I mean,
you must have a wealth in your little black book of
do.
all the people that can be called and all the PRIs that needs to be written. And if you need to send someone into a nursing home,
yeah, I'll call admissions directly. Be like, you have an open bed for so and so. Please help me.
An open bed, and people don't realize that each nursing home takes in a different source of care.
Correct.
Some people take memory care only. Some people take, it's a whole big difference.
Yeah, and even with all the different assisted livings too.
Yes.
So we're fortunate enough, we're a licensed agency, we can go into any setting. So I always tell people, it's home care, but wherever you call your home is where we can go.
I love that.
Yeah, so, if somebody is kind of teetering, they're like, should I remain in a private residence or should I go to an assisted living? I'll say, you know what, let me call so-and-so. You can set up a tour and talk to them. And if that's the way that your journey should be, then so be it.
We have to take a break now. When we return, we'll hear more from Melanie about Allegiant Home Care, where she's stabled with, and all the wonderful things that her home care agency does. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Talk with Maria. We're talking about navigating through the challenges of aging with Melanie Stephen. Melanie, tell me a little bit about Allegiant Home Care. It's a super duper home care agency, and you're involved in doing the geriatric care. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Sure. So we are a licensed home care agency.
Yes.
And just to clarify, there's two different types of agencies in New York. There's certified, which handle the skilled needs that I mentioned earlier. And then there's the licensed. So we do all personal care. All of our caregivers are certified home health aides, so they're able to really provide that hands-on care. And I always tell families too, it's like, okay, so you might not be at that level yet, but that day when your needs do increase, You should just have that caregiver who's at that skill set present so they can accommodate you and your changing needs.
Yes, because some people have companion care, just want to sit home, talk to someone. I'm lonely, my daughter's son is in Florida, and I just want to be home. And then you have the hands-on home health aides that has to go in and just, do the 5 ADLs.
Yes.
So what geographic locations do you provide services?
So we are corporately based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice.
We actually have offices from Miami on the eastern seaboard all the way up to Niagara, Buffalo. Yeah, we're pretty extensive. And I always say that's a wonderful thing too, that we have out-of-state resources. God forbid, like when a Sandy situation or something happens, we have resources available in other states.
Very nice.
But we still maintain that mom and pop feel. I have 3 local offices, one in Suffolk County, one in Nassau, and then also Brooklyn is our downstate hub. We work with many payer sources, which is something else that I really want to stress. A lot of agencies are private pay, and it's difficult for some people to accept that they need care. And then when you add on a large it's price tag to that.
Yes.
Sorry, blame that on Legion.
Yes.
Yeah. A large price tag.
Yes.
It makes them a little apprehensive.
Right.
So we work with Medicaid, community Medicaid, to manage long-term care policies through community Medicaid.
Correct.
We also work with waiver programs. There's an NHTD, which is the Nursing Home Transition Deferment Waiver, as well as the TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury waiver. So that would cover things like dementia, where they may not necessarily get the hours they need through an MLTC. We work with the VA. I love my
Wonderful
vets. My dad
yes.
is a veteran from
Kudos
Vietnam.
to the vets.
Absolutely, and they deserve every single thing that they can get for what they've sacrificed for this country.
Absolutely.
Don't even get me started.
Love to the vets.
Very much
From the Talk with Maria show.
Yes.
And Melanie.
Yeah, and me too. So we work with their service-connected disability pension benefits, which are given through the community care department at the VA, as well as aid and attendance, which can be for surviving spouses of veterans as well. And then catastrophic policies like for NYPD, FDNY, and teachers have benefits that they're could be eligible for. Long-term care insurance. I say all the time, I got my long-term care insurance
Me too. It works.
prior to my diagnosis.
Oh, wow.
So I am so grateful.
And a trust.
Out. Yes. Oh my God. I have my trust.
Yes.
I did
have
all
a trust.
of everything.
Make sure you call up your attorney, get a power of attorney. As you age, there are times that you will not believe that you need to have another voice speak with you on your behalf.
Right. And I always say planning doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yes.
I always say the day you bring your umbrella, it doesn't rain.
That's right.
Every single time.
So, Allegiant Home Care. Yeah. So you're providing care. You're looking for home health aides. You have a nursing team.
Yes.
You guys are up and I love that seaboard, coast to coast.
Yeah. So we have like a whole snowbird program specifically for that too. So, a lot of people travel. We'll help to coordinate. So this way, like they'll leave from Buffalo or Long Island, and then by the time they get down to Florida, they're all set up with their services in place. Yeah.
That's interesting. And so you have the aides travel with them?
We could if they wanted to. That's really not part of it, but it's
They'll meet an aide.
Yeah, like, the executive directors from the branches make sure, and that this way the nurse knows that they're coming, and we can send their care plans and kind of make sure everybody's on the same page.
Wow.
So it's a nice, smooth transition.
A for Allegiant.
Yay! Oh, I want to use that.
I love it. Yes, absolutely.
You saw it here first.
Yes, definitely. So we have to take a quick break. We will return and we'll hear more from Melanie Stevens. Don't move a muscle. So Mel, where do you see home care going?
You know how like when people make decisions for things that they're not really hands-on in?
Right.
And it sounds like a great idea on paper, but if you're not boots on the ground and experiencing it hands-on, doesn't seem it's going to translate the way that maybe it should. CDPAP is like the huge buzzword right now,
Right.
which is like the consumer-driven program, and to take that away from all of these local agencies and pretty much send it all to one out-of-state agency and think that that's going to solve some problem. I just don't see how it's not going to eventually kind of like implode on itself, which leaves all these poor families vulnerable. People are panicking, and what do I need to do? And to maybe get non-certified caregivers certified to keep them and then switch agencies. But there's just not enough people. Like, that's where the focus needs to be, is to get more people.
My take on CDPAP, I honestly feel that is a very sensitive situation, but I also feel that caregivers ought to be trained. It's like if you say I'm having a headache, you could be having a stroke.
Yes.
But if you did not go to school to understand that from a registered nurse point of view, then you can say, you know what, why don't you just go lay down and take a break when in fact you're dying.
Right.
So
Yes.
I like the fact that they are trained. I've stood on that. I don't like that one-day training. I don't feel a caregiver could be trained in a day in 7 hours. I feel caregivers need to go through the New York State routine of caring. I like the BPSS, where they allow you to care within a certain amount of time.
Right.
You understand the diagnosis and understand a bit of the care that
Right.
you're going to be offering.
And just like that nursing oversight and
That
everything
nursing
as well.
oversight
too.
is critical.
Yes.
I think if and this is only my humble opinion, and I mean I understand that caring for your own parents is vital. No one
I was
can
just
share
gonna
that
say,
love.
right, that's
no
when it
one
usually
can give
is.
your mother the love that she deserves, but
Yeah.
you. But I feel if you got a little training, it can definitely help to
Right.
boost the knowledge.
So much of the burden falls on the family when
Right.
it's CDPAP that a lot of
Yes.
people don't realize. It's not only sourcing the caregivers, but it's if
Yes.
somebody calls in sick, if there's bad weather, or like you said, if there is an emergency that they're really not catered to handle. Yeah,
And a
it's
lot
like
of
a
times
double-edged
family
sword.
says, you know what, I'm going to be the caregiver backup. I'm going to be the person taking care of my parents. But then financially does not yield to what they need.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
And
sometimes
then when
it's the
that financial
piece.
need breaks down, then they leave their family members home alone. And they go to get a job done, and that's where I think the
So
chaos
the problem
begins.
was, yes,
and their family members
absolutely.
fall down, they back in the hospital, the revolving door, which is costing more money to be cared for.
Right.
And I think that's where the state says this is enough.
Yeah, that was the other thing too, I think, that also just stretched things so thin was like, you have so many assisted livings now
Yes.
and with the skilled nursing facility. So everybody's pulling from the same pool
Source,
of
yes.
people. And that's why I tell families when I'm speaking with them also, when they're trying to choose between different agencies, which may obviously the
Yes.
choice is clear, it's Allegiant.
CA,
But,
yes.
like, I'm going to call a couple of different companies and I'll tell them, well, it's probably going to be the same caregiver. I explain to them it's about the back office staff really too.
Right.
That if there is
How
an
they
issue.
propose, how they care, how they, you know, at
Yeah.
the Home Health Aid Training Institute, we do have a coordinators class.
Ah.
We teach people how to coordinate.
That's
What's the right
wonderful.
steps in coordinating, the tone in coordinating, the understanding that the mission of the owner, of the CEO of the company, what's their mission and how you're playing a part in tone and care, because the care naturally starts from the coordinator
Yes.
perspective.
Yeah, it
make
has to
sure
be
that
the
that
right match.
compatibility.
And I tell families too, like
Yes.
if it's not the right match, please tell me.
Yes.
Because we'll get somebody. Like I want everybody to feel comfortable. Yeah, like
the compatibility, it's like a
Totally.
marriage. We have to take a break. When we return, we'll wrap up our conversation with Melanie Stevens from Allegiant Home Care. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Talk with Maria. We're talking about navigating the challenges of aging. With me is Melanie Stephen, a geriatric care coordinator with Allegiant Home Care. So you're with Allegiant,
Yeah.
and you guys do a lot of in-house training, PTSD. Tell me about the different programs that you allow your aides to be organized and oriented with.
So we do a monthly boot camp where once our aides are hired, they do go through an orientation process, and then we'll actually do a whole boot camp. It's a lot of fun. They get lunch, and everybody just like that camaraderie, and we practice the Hoyer lift, which is funny because we put our senior VP of operations in the Hoyer, just to make sure everyone's skill set is kind of where it needs to be. Of course, when we open up every case, we start with our registered nurse. They'll go out. All of our nurses are full-time employees. We don't use anybody per diem. So after they open up that case, they will be their manager of clinical practice moving forward.
Nice.
And every start, we usually, again, have the nurse kind of go over the specifics of the care plan. And if there is, like, say, a Hoyer, we'll just kind of refresh to make sure everybody's up to par. We have a dementia-specific training. Because that seems to be a lot of the people that we care for have dementia, or different types of cognitive decline.
Changes,
Yeah,
right.
changes. We have a reach out program, which is something that we really pride ourselves on. It was developed specifically. It's our program where it takes the top 10 diagnoses which lead to hospitalizations. So whether it's COPD, CHF, like congestive heart failure, chronic pulmonary obstruction, urinary tract infections, dehydration, all these different things that could lead to a hospitalization. We have cards that are placed in the home, and it's a very simple, if you notice this symptom, you need to do this and follow up with that. So if, say somebody is not drinking their fluids, you tell the nurse, we'll deploy an in-home urgent care model that we've partnered with that can come out and start, say, IV antibiotics while we're seeing if they have a UTI or, like
That's
something to that
interesting.
effect.
I love that. Fast track care.
It's huge. Like, yeah, we partner with Care to You. I don't know if you're familiar, that urgent care, and they'll do like in-home hospitalizations. But our main goal really is to keep people out of the hospital system.
Right.
Because I always say it's like you go in there, you're just opening up a can of worms. Because you send somebody in there because they're not feeling well and they do blood work, it's going to come back with like 10,000 things.
Yes, absolutely. You got to zoom into the point of fact and see what's going on. And of course, staying home is always a good policy if not overloading the hospital facility.
Right, so if they have
Yes.
diabetes, our caregivers are making sure that they're checking their feet, if there's discoloration, to keep wounds at bay or whatever. So yeah, all those cards are
Sounds
specifically.
exciting to me.
I know, I love
So
it.
aging, after all, if you have a Legion home care, should not be a problem.
No, not my.
Nice, nice. I love it. What would you say to your caregivers out there today?
Tell a friend. Tell a friend that we're hiring.
Give us your number, your website.
Yes. So our website is allegiant-homecare.com. My work cell is 516-385-2836. We offer full medical, dental, vision, vacation, sick. It's full benefits and.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, which caregiver would not want to come and party with you?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes?
Yeah. And like I said, we it's a 4 consecutive hour daily minimum, all the way up to 24-hour care. We have a lot of 12-hour shifts. I do a lot of 168-hour cases.
And how long have Legions been in business?
Oh gosh, I want to say like around 20 years. We have all different
versions of
names. Like it's Health Force in Buffalo, Niagara. Down south we have Nightingale. We're a part of the Accord Care family.
Nice.
Another A.
Another A. I want to thank you so much for joining us
you.
today.
I know,
Oh my
I'm so
God.
happy.
You took care of yourself. I hope you feel better, a whole lot better.
Yeah, no, I feel good. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with me.
Yes. Nothing's wrong with you. Hair has no color. When you're a caregiver, you will take your heart out there and you will share your care with someone that really needs you. And so again, Melanie, thank you so much for coming. It's been an honor. Yes. And to Legion Home Care, thank you for lending us Melanie this time of the day. This is Maria. I want to say, I hope you found our conversations informative and inspiring. Visit our website, talkwithmaria.com, for resources and information. Share your thoughts on social media using hashtag #TalkWithMaria, and tune in the next time for more inspiring discussions. Until next time, stay healthy. Talk with Maria is made possible by If you're passionate about helping others, become a certified home health aide with Home Health Aid Training Institute, 516-333-3689, or visit hhati.com. Experience the authentic taste of Italy in the heart of Westbury, Rialto Restaurant. Make your reservation at 516-997-5689. Brooklyn Boulevard Home Care. They care for you in the comfort of your own home. To schedule your care, call 718-683-8303.